The ground beneath me was cold and damp, the smell of earth and decay clinging to the air. My mouth tasted of blood and dirt, a bitter mixture that churned in my stomach. I tried to get up, but my head spun as if I'd been hit by something heavy. I looked around, my vision blurry at first, but then slowly clearing. Trees surrounded me on all sides, dark and twisted. There was no sign of where I had come from, no trail, no path. I raised my hands, looking down at them, and saw them stained with something dark and sticky. It wasn't just dirt, it felt like something else, something more unsettling. My heart began to pound. My thoughts were a jumbled mess, but one thing was clear. I had no idea how I had ended up here. I stumbled to my feet, shaking the fogginess from my head, trying to gather myself. And then there was the hunger. It wasn't like any hunger I'd ever known. This was primal. A gnawing emptiness in the pit of my stomach, as though something deep inside me was screaming to be fed. I felt like I could eat anything at all, and still not be satisfied. I needed to get out of here. By the time I made it back home, the hunger had only grown. It wasn't just my stomach, it felt like it was in my bones, my veins. I felt it, pulsing through me, and nothing I ate helped. Not even the biggest meal I could force myself to consume. It wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. The gnawing, insatiable need was overwhelming. I looked in the mirror one evening hoping to see some semblance of the person I used to be, but instead what I saw was a stranger. My eyes were sunken, the skin on my face pale and sickly. There were dark circles beneath my eyes, as if sleep was a foreign concept. I rubbed my face, but it didn't change. Something inside me had shifted, and it wasn't just physical. I didn't feel like me anymore. I tried to ignore it. Maybe it was stress, maybe I was sick, but as the days passed, I began to notice things. Strange marks on my skin, dark and jagged, as though my body was being etched with something I couldn't see. I began to feel stronger, faster, but it wasn't a good kind of strength. It was unsettling. At night I had vivid dreams, nightmares really, of running through the forest, hunting something. I could feel the wind on my skin, smell the earth beneath my feet, and the hunger. It was there, relentless. It felt like my true self, and I couldn't escape it. I didn't want to believe it at first, but then Caleb found me. I'd met him once before, years ago, but we'd lost contact. He was an old friend of my family, someone I never thought I'd see again. But here he was, standing in front of me, his eyes wary and tired, like he knew something I didn't. "Lucas," he said, his voice low, almost like a whisper. "I know what's happening to you." I stared at him, confused. "What the hell are you talking about?" He looked me up and down, then stepped closer. "You've been infected with the blood of a rougarou." I didn't know what he was talking about, but the way he said it with such conviction made something inside me shiver. A rougarou, some kind of curse, a virus that turned people into monsters. The more he spoke, the clearer it became. I had been cursed. That feeling, the hunger, the changes in my body, the blood on my hands, was all a part of it. "You have 7 days, Caleb continued, his voice strained. 7 days to resist the temptation. If you give in, if you eat human flesh, it'll be over. The transformation will be permanent." The words hit me like a slap. I had to resist. I had no choice. But I knew it wouldn't be easy. The hunger got worse. It consumed me. Every minute, every second, I thought about it. I thought about eating, about hunting. It wasn't just hunger anymore. It was an urge, a need. I started seeing people differently, not as friends or family, but as prey. It was sickening, but I couldn't stop it. I couldn't control it. One evening, I found myself in a park watching a jogger as she passed by. I was close enough to hear her breathing, to smell the sweat on her skin. The hunger inside me stirred, deep and hungry, like a beast begging for its next meal. I didn't know how I got so close, but there I was, watching her. I could almost taste her flesh. I lost track of time. The next thing I knew, I was standing in the middle of the park, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. The woman was gone, but I could still feel the hunger gnawing at me, clawing at my insides. I couldn't let myself go there. I wouldn't. But it was getting harder. The cost. The 7th day came. I'd barely made it this far, fighting against the hunger, the rage, the thirst for blood. But the temptation was overwhelming. The door creaked open, and there he was, Ethan, standing in the doorway, eyes wide with concern. "Lucas, His words stopped short as he took in the state I was in. My skin was pale, my body trembling, and the hunger, it was unbearable. "Ethan, no," I whispered, backing away as I felt the beast clawing at my insides. His scent filled the room, too strong, too intoxicating. The urge to feed was overwhelming. It felt like I was drowning, and Ethan was the only lifeline. "Lucas, you're scaring me," he said, taking a step forward. His voice trembled, but his concern was genuine. He reached out, trying to comfort me, but all I could think about was how close he was, how vulnerable he was. I wanted to push him away, to tell him to run, but the hunger was a beast inside me, clawing its way to the surface. My teeth ached, my heart raced. I could already taste the warmth of his flesh. "No," I told myself, but it didn't matter. Every instinct screamed at me to sink my teeth into him. "Stay back," I shouted, my voice hoarse, but he kept moving forward, his face full of fear and compassion. I couldn't stop. My hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. I have to resist him, I thought, but I was losing the fight. "Please, Ethan," I whispered through gritted teeth. "Please leave." But it was too late. He reached out to me again, and that was all it took. My body moved of its own accord, my hands shaking as I pulled him closer, the hunger flooding me like fire. For a long moment, I couldn't stop myself. His body went limp in my arms, and I felt the life drain from him, but even in that moment, I fought against the temptation to devour him. I had to resist. I couldn't become that. Finally, I let him go, stumbling back, my breath ragged. The guilt hit me harder than the hunger. I turned and ran, my feet carrying me away from the scene of my crime. Hours passed before the hunger subsided. The curse lifted, I was normal again, but I wasn't free. I had killed Ethan, and I would carry that weight for the rest of my life.